And we are back for another episode of the Sand Shark Rewind. I'm your host, Brackin Lambert, alongside my co-host, Justin Jarrett and Wes Kerr. Fellas, happy Sunday. How's it going?
Bracken.
Thanks, you guys.
Not so happy Sunday. Chiefs with a heartbreaker today.
But Bills did the
thing. That's how it goes sometimes. Win some, you lose some.
The Falcons
That's
lost,
the nature of the NFL days. Yeah, the Falcons are trash, though, and still in contention for winning a division, which is just wild.
Any given Sunday.
Interesting.
That's the beauty of it.
Sunday.
That's the NFC South for you.
We're here to talk Sand Sharks.
Except Carolina.
I heard it referred today as the someone has to win it NFC South. I thought that was a pretty good description, but nonetheless, let's talk Sand Sharks.
Been eliminated since week 1.
Yeah, so. Carolina's rough. They're rough. They don't even get their number 1 draft pick either. That's a bummer.
Yeah. Let's start. Let's talk what we're here for. So, Sand Shark basketball. We are in the final home stretch of the non-conference schedule. Last couple games, we had one yesterday, and one more this coming Saturday. So we're just ready to rock and roll. Here's the last couple games, non-conference, and yesterday we faced off against Regent, picked up 2 wins. Can't be here without two wins. So
it was a good day at the Cove for sure. It was nice atmosphere. Crowd was late arriving. I was a little worried to start the women's game that not many people were going to show up, but it filled in pretty nicely. But once the game got going, it filled in pretty nicely, and then by the men's game, it was packed pretty good. I loved all the little holiday touches you guys had going. Twas the game before Christmas. And like you said, 2 dubs. I mean, that's the biggest thing. We talked a lot on the broadcast, Rich Basirico and I, about the opportunity to have teaching and coaching experiences, learning experiences in a win, and what a great, valuable asset that is as a coach to be able to give them things that they don't feel like you're beating them up because you just lost. They're taken in a much more constructive way. And so I thought it was really valuable for both teams to get a dub yesterday and have some learning experiences along the way that they can improve upon as they go forward. So fun day in the Cove. Absolutely.
Yeah. The women improved to 3-4 with another win. They've sandwiched victories here the last 3 weeks, 2-1 over the last 3 weeks. We'll take it. One over Payne, a tough loss there on the road to Edward Waters last week, but pick up a big 15-point win, 85-70 over the Regent Royals. And we've got a special guest with us tonight. No players, unfortunately, tonight, but we've got assistant coach Brady Grogan. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Brady.
Yes, sir. What's up, Grogan?
Brady.
Friend of the program, Brady Grogan.
Yeah, if I knew we were doing NFL-themed Sunday, I would have worn the Bengals jersey. Another win for me this weekend.
Yeah, man. Yeah. They're rallying despite the Burrow injury. It's cool.
I love that backup. He is
familiar theme. Survive, next man up, get the wins.
That's right. Brady, how's your Sunday going, man?
Good. Just watching some football and getting ahead on some film for next week's game.
That's right. How's New College looking?
The mighty Banyans of the New College of Florida.
Yeah, no, it'll kind of match a lot of the things that we've seen in this preseason so far, this non-conference season so far. Just solid team with experience that has some athleticism and is going to play us in a style that gets us ready for the conference. It's going to be probably up tempo. We're going to try to control the tempo and hopefully match that defensive intensity that we had yesterday, because that's the kind of thing that we're going to need to keep getting wins.
And you guys had to work for it on Saturday. You were trailing by around 8, close to 10 in that first half, and you guys just turned it on those last 2 minutes or so and took the lead right before halftime. So it would describe the emotions and the momentum of that game on Saturday.
Yeah, no, it was that's one of those. I've talked about it before, but the energy starts with the defense. And there was a player on Region on yesterday that was just, number 11 was killing us, man. Like we couldn't get a stop. And we kind of knew that going in that she was going to play like that. And it finally had some players step up and kind of say like, all right, like that's enough. We're just going to play better defense. And that coming out of a timeout, getting towards that last segment, going into the half out of the media, was just kind of like, the emphasis was like, hey, the offense is not working right now. We can control the defense. Let's control the defense. So they really stepped it up. And I think that kind of got people fired up, forced the timeout, got us even more fired up, got the crowd into it, and then big play to take the lead right before the half really kind of sent us into the locker room being like, okay, like we're good now. That was a nice reset button. Start on the defensive end, get the easy buckets. It's hard to miss a wide open layup over and over again. So we'll take those every day over having to draw something up to get a shot. We'll take the wide open fast break layups.
Oh, yeah. And I thought you were talking about Jabaria Brown. She got off early. I mean, she was just lighting it up. She was throwing up some crazy stuff, and everything was going in from every angle. But then Coach Versip after the game said that it was really Michaela Primo who said she took it personally, and she just decided she was going to take it upon herself to shut that down, and did a terrific job. I mean, you guys limited her pretty well the rest of the way. And then some other kids stepped up for you big. What's that?
She still had 35 points.
Yeah. But she had 21 early in the second quarter.
Yeah. I mean, she was on fire, and I mean, it was crazy. Like we looked at each other and said, wait, what? She had you guys just kind of panicking on offense and just not running your stuff. She just got you out of sorts. But I thought you really righted the ship there at the end. And then more importantly, maybe coming out of the break, you really asserted yourselves and made sure that the pace was the way you wanted it to be.
Yeah. And that's kind of, it's pretty rare for something to catch us off guard necessarily.
Yeah.
Like another team isn't going to surprise us with much. So going into it, we knew that the offensive side of the ball, 24 is going to hit shots, 11 is going to beat us to the rim, and she's going to hit them if we leave them open. So, our job is to limit that as best we can and stop it when we can. And it really was, we had a couple different matchups going for number 11, and it was kind of Michaela Primo that she just kind of said, I got it. Don't worry about it. Don't switch. Don't nothing. I got this. And that was kind of the spark we needed. And there was a time later in the game, and we kind of talk about, taking pride in that defense. That was something that anybody sitting behind the bench probably heard me say to her a dozen times. And there was a time later in the game, I think she picked up her third foul, and she was right in front of the bench. And I keep the fouls on the sheet, and I turned to Coach Versip, and I was like, that's 3. And Primo turned around and goes, no.
No,
what, Grogan? Grogan's froze up. Frozen Grogan.
It's the
man.
The
we were just
Wi-Fi.
getting a great story. University Wi-Fi. Oh, you froze up right when you said no. Primo said no.
She said I told Coach Versip, I said she has 3 fouls, and she looks to the bench to sub, and Primo turns around. She's like, no, I got it. And we're like, you don't need to sub. You got 3 fouls. She's like, I got it. Don't worry about it. Went the rest of the game, didn't pick up a foul, locked her up. It's as much as you can ask for from a player. That was awesome.
Awesome stuff. You guys want to watch the highlights?
Great. Let's watch them. Let's
watch the highlights.
Cut those this morning.
On the season, but she finds
I'll hide her little thing so we can see Grogan.
Bartle tries to answer, and she is pure.
I love Bartle.
Heyward
Nice.
the baseline.
Nice. Yeah,
Good
it's
stuff.
great to see her, a constant fixture in this lineup. She's been excellent. Coming recently to
Absolutely. And
her career.
we knew it would take her a little bit of time to get into the rhythm and stuff. She's been killing it.
Yeah, I mean, literally her foot. It's hard for a guard who's as shifty as she is and cuts as much as she does to get back off a foot injury. That's tough. But she looks comfortable now.
And
I love just to watch her on defense, her eyes. God, she is so locked in.
Yeah, and it was when the shots weren't falling the first couple games, we talked about, finding the other things. Like, she's an incredible playmaker. Her passing, the one coming up here where he goes up for the layup and kind of brings it around and then dumps it off for the pass to Ari. But once the playmaking got going, it was fine. And then now the scoring coming back into it too. So she's starting to come together, which is, we tell her just be her. Like, she's here for a reason. We recruited her. Coach Versip picked her. We don't need her to be anything else. We want her to be her, and she's been doing that.
It's good to see Ari get some buckets to go, because she's kind of fought it, but I think your guards are starting to figure out how to work with her better. She's so good at sealing off and has great moves on the block, but I think it just took them a while to figure out where she needed the ball. Am I right?
Yeah, I think that the whole entry passes into the post and kind of getting the posts more involved down low was a struggle for us early on. We're a very guard-heavy team, in terms of ours really are only true low post player. JD Young
Right.
as well. But most of our players are kind of perimeter type posts. So, kind of getting players who might be more used to an up-tempo, guard-heavy system, getting them used to the entry passes and picking and choosing. I think you'll see a lot of times early on in the season where we were kind of forcing passes that were kind of open. And it's like, if her feet aren't set in a good spot, like you don't want to make her have to make a tough play to get your pass.
Right.
Like make it easy on her. We were making it tough on her. And I think last night there were a few different times where we gave her the ball where she wanted it. And once she gets the ball where she wants it, she's been really good about getting the ball in the hoop, which is
maybe even just like waiting another millisecond to let her just get it sealed off. I think sometimes they were delivering it a little too early and her feet weren't quite quick enough. But once she gets it sealed off, brother, I mean, if you can get it to her on the block, she knows what to do with it. So that was good to see. And then, obviously the guard play has been terrific. And I guess Janiyah and Jada were coming off a little illness with the last, I'm assuming. So, I attributed a little bit of slow-footedness early just to that, not having a lot of juice. But Janiyah still played like a lightning bug out there. She's incredible.
Yeah. She kicks it to another gear, and it's something that, like, we have a lot of quick guards, but she is just on another level of that speed. So when she's on the court, it speeds up the other team. They've got to react faster. They have to defend faster. They have to dribble the ball quicker. They can't hold the ball as much. So her defensive side, and then turning that into just, I mean, you put up a shot, and she rebounds too. She gets up and rebounds. She's got to have the highest vertical on the team. If she gets that rebound, you have to all turn and sprint back because she's going to be down there before you can even react to the fact that you missed a shot.
How worried were you a couple times? She took some pretty hard bumps there. I mean, it looked like it looked like she was in WWE. Just you heard
how a couple shots.
I'm kind of used to it now. She's with that speed. I don't know that she fully has the understanding of other people sometimes because she's just going at 110 miles per hour at all times. And, part of that will come with, the just experience and kind of getting more minutes. But I mean, it's kind of something that she said, it's always been like that. And even in practice, she's flying around everywhere. Sometimes people get in her way. I don't think she's running into people. I think people are getting in her way. So she's tough though. She'll take it. And
she about got taken out by Bart once on defense.
Yeah.
Just those couple of times where she landed and took a second to get up. I was like, oh
yeah. I think that's probably been part of her game since she was, well, even littler though, I mean, like that's just, she plays downhill and she's small. So she knows she's going to have to go in there and endure some contact. And she has a great knack for angling her body and giving herself angles to get the ball to the basket. So I think she also is just good at it, like a running back who's good at avoiding contact. I think she's able to glance off a lot of it.
Yeah. She's that type of player that does that. I mean, I ran into a coach down like in Southern Georgia, like Kingsland, Georgia, maybe, I forget where, but the coach kind of stopped me and was like, "Oh, you got Janiyah's over there now, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, she is." And she's like, "I've coached against her for a few years now. I still think I see her fly across my face every now and then when I'm coaching her practice." She's like, I'm glad not to see her anymore.
I mean, she's quick.
She is. She's
we're getting to the end of this non-conference portion of the schedule. What have you learned over these last few weeks about how ready this team is to jump into Peach Belt Conference play?
Yeah, I mean we've always known that we were going to have a young team, and then when we lost some experience with injuries, we knew that youth was going to have to grow up quick in terms of basketball age. And I think that we've learned over these games that we have a tough, coachable, ready team. I don't know what the Peach Belt is gonna bring us. I don't know if we're gonna win it. I don't know if we're gonna come last. I don't know if we're gonna finish right in the middle. But I know that they are going to prepare for each game. They're gonna know the scouts. They're gonna know the plays. They're gonna do what we ask, and they're gonna execute. And I think if those things continue to happen the way that they happened in the last 27 minutes yesterday, I think that we'll see a lot of success. And not like I've said this a bunch of times, but it's true that the success isn't going to be our record at the end of the year. The success is going to be our growth and the way that we played. And I think that with the way that they're responding to coaching and the way that they're stepping up when called upon, I think that they just have to continue that, and we're going to see a lot of success in the Peach Belt. And I'm personally excited. I've obviously seen a lot of it on film, but there's a lot of turnover in the Peach Belt. There's some new coaches coming in. There's some teams at the top that lost some All-American players. So there's going to be some shakeups, and hopefully we can kind of find our spot in there and catch some people off guard, maybe thinking that they got a new team that they can look ahead past.
You have a goal?
Yeah, I think we might be past that because I think the guys definitely. Well, I think the Versap hire got some attention. That got some people's attention, and then the guys start. I think has definitely got some attention to the point that people are like, "Oh, this is not your typical first year program." I think. I hope.
JJ, does that not remind you a little bit of softball?
A lot, yeah. I mean, yeah, it does a lot. And we were talking about this a little bit on the broadcast about how difficult it is to schedule that first year and get the right balance because you want to you don't know what you're going to have and what it's going to look like until you get out there, and so you want to make sure you set yourself up to not go over. Like you got to make sure you get some wins in there, but you also don't want to cupcake yourself to the point that you get to conference play and you're shocked, So I thought you guys did a good job of striking that balance. It's a difficult thing, and I mean, we had opening weekend on conference in softball, not conference, but opening weekend where we just clobbered somebody, and people were like, "What are you doing?" Two perfect games. They're like, "What are you doing?" And it's like, "Well, we didn't know." We didn't have any players when we made the schedule, so how are you supposed to know? But I think you guys. I mean, I would say obviously you'd like to be 8-0 going in, but ideally, actually, I think you'd like to be 4-4. Like from a development standpoint, you want to lose some, you want to win some, and have some things to go on. Because if you win them all, you're not going to expose your weaknesses. You're not going to be able to grow. So I think you guys have struck a great balance. I would guess Fudala wouldn't mind having a couple more L's on his loss just so he could have some more teaching moments, but sure more fun to teach after a win than a loss.
No, for sure. And I think that with the schedule, it's kind of been a good mix of, some teams that'll test us in some different ways. And I think that, the ones that we kind of had circled is like it was Savannah State and Edward Waters are two teams that played each other in a conference championship. Like they're incredible teams. So
those are good measuring stick D2s for sure.
And when you look back at that game, there's been some games on our schedule that that I think we should have won, and some games that we kind of left it saying like, okay, what can we take from that game? It might be a little tougher to kind of measure against like a Peach Belt team, but I think those are the two games that we can kind of look back on the film of even still being like, okay, like what did they do? How did they respond to this? And I think that, we have some games coming forward that are going to prepare us similar ways. So, hopefully this last non-conference game can kind of iron out the rest of the wrinkles, and hopefully any of that can be retained after about a week and a half off for Christmas.
Right.
So short. Start a conference play. Brady, what's your goal? What is your goal for this year? I mean, is it like, I'm always in the office and we're talking all kinds of stuff. I talk with Jay, I talk with Ted and Cody. Like Jay's goal this year was to make the tournament. Mm-hmm. They did that and then some. So I mean, what's women's basketball's goal this season? Obviously preseason stuff, we're going to be picked last as a new program. But I mean, is there a level that we say, hey, we think we can do this? Obviously everything changed a lot when you lost Sheridan and Lydia. But I mean, realistically, what would you say the goal is heading into Peach Belt play?
That's tough. I mean, I know that, I've kind of looked at it as, what teams do we match up with best? What teams do we think we can surprise in certain ways and stuff like that? I honestly don't think there's a win-loss goal or a placement goal that we would say we succeeded or failed. I think that it's more about, the way the games look. So if we go out there and lose every single game by 1 point, that's not necessarily a complete failure because, it's like, man, like some of those teams are going to the Final Four this year. Like some of those teams have All-Americans. Right. But then if we go out there and lose every game by 40, it's like, well, yeah, that was a complete failure.
Right.
But so I think that it more is going to come less on the scoreboard and more in like when we look back at, it's not, we talk about like points aren't the only way to contribute. And we saw that yesterday where we really had two primary scorers throughout the first half. Yeah. But the contributions came from other places. Like there was defense, rebounding, assists, steals, stuff like that. I think it's going to be a similar thing throughout the conference where, It's not going to be who scores the most points. It's not going to be, how many games we won. It's going to be, did our posts score in the low post? Did we develop their finishing? Did we find our shooters? Because that's something that we've been trying to find is, who's our second, third, and fourth shooter on the team. And,
right.
It's kind of bringing the team together as a whole. I think that personally, my goal is to play in the conference tournament year one. I want to go to the conference tournament. I think that once you get into a tournament setting and everything's on the line, it's almost like
all bets are off, baby.
Throw out the record books. Who knows what's going to happen? And maybe
all bets are off.
Yeah, there's a point.
How many get in?
Nothing to lose. 8. It's 8, right?
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
That's a good first year goal. I think. Yeah. I mean, that's one that you only got to win. You win 4 conference games. You're going right.
Yeah,
so that's a good goal that you can hopefully stretch beyond that. But I think that's realistic. And to the point of what you're saying, I mean, we always tell even our 13U baseball kids, we don't care so much about what happens, but we care about how it happens, because there are going to be days where you're going to lose no matter what you do.
Yeah.
But if you do the right things and you're competitive with the team that's better than you, then that's a good day. And there are other days where you should win, but it still matters how you do it. And I thought that yesterday was probably a good example of that, where you felt like you should win the game. But it mattered how it looked, and you didn't like the way it looked at the start, but you sure liked the way it finished. So, I think you're right on point with that. It's not necessarily about wins and losses this year, but about developing your program so that it's better next year than it was this year. And you can be a little more, you'll have something tangible to set some real, measurable goals then as far as wins and losses go. So,
we were talking about those other contributors, and in between games, Janiyah was like, "Oh, I played awful," and I really don't think she did. And then, I mean, just looking at like where she wasn't the top scorer. She was fifth in points, but she had six rebounds and 7 assists.
Yeah, she was terrific.
That is productive.
Like, I mean, like you said, it's not always going to be the person who's, putting the ball through the hoop. It's the ones who are picking up the rebounds, the ones who are dishing out the assists. And, I think that, she should know that was a productive game. She went, I'm looking at it right now. She went 2 for 8 from the field, but okay, cool. That's all she needed. That's what she needed to do. She contributed in a different way.
Well, she recognized early that she didn't have her outside shot too, and she just kind of adapted to.
And that's noticeable, because that's kind of one of those instincts and traits that you want a player to have. If they're not feeling it, find a way to help your team in other measures, and she certainly did that with those 7 assists and 6 boards, and also minimizing mistakes. So really a productive game from Janiyah. And how much do you enjoy that, embrace that as a coach? Seeing these players understand what their roles are and how they can help their team in different ways. Obviously, you have the top scorers, but you look at up and down this lineup, some of these players who are instrumental that sometimes it doesn't always show up clearly in the box score.
Yeah, it's not always going to be the points, obviously. So you got to find where you can help. It's something that we've talked about as coaches. It's something that the team talks about too. I think it was one of the players, I'm forgetting which one, so I can't give him proper credit. I think it was Lydia, actually, in film this week, made a comment about how from last week's game, there was a certain player that was going to do a certain move every single time. And we knew it, and we knew it, and we knew it. And we did a great job, shut it down to the point where the coach was just like, just get her out of the game. Like, I can't even have her on the court right now. And that was like pride. I took some pride in that, being like, all right, like they're doing that. And when we were watching that game back as a team, that was something that kind of stood out. Was like, man, we shut down her go-to move, and she's a good player. And Lydia was the one who kind of stepped up and was like, when they talk about like finding ways to help, that's one right there, is knowing the scout, knowing the little things that you can do. It might not be a point, a rebound, a block, or an assist, but just sliding to the left to cut off her right hand, that changed the game. It took her out of the game. So we have a lot of players that are willing to do those things, and that's part of the coachability too. Whether it's the scout or whether it's just a tweak that we're making to a play, or it's a player that, has come along in different ways. Like I think of like shot selection wise yesterday. Janiyah's shot selection was incredible compared to
outstanding.
There's been times where we've talked about like, hey, like that girl's 5 inches shorter and significantly weaker than you, like, you know, strength wise. Why did you pull up for a jump shot on a fast break? And she, you know, it's something that she's gotten better at. And I think that you saw that yesterday where she got going early and then some of those mid-range shots started to fall. Then she pulled that 3 in the corner that I'm going to let her hear about tomorrow, but we'll let that one slide because it was kind of a heat check towards the end of the game. But you know, it's stuff like that where people are kind of coming into their own and finding their roles. And I think Janiyah is a great example of someone who does a lot of things outside of scoring points. She's usually our leading rebounder, and she's a post who can catch a rebound and just take off. And that's something that
take it up the floor, man. I
yeah.
love to watch her work in traffic. Like she's impressive with the ball in transition, and that really helps you guys get out because sometimes there's not an outlet there, but she can just take off with it and create an angle. So no, she's the glue, as Versip said yesterday after the game. I think that was apropos. But before we go, we want to watch the men's highlights with us, Grogan.
Oh yeah,
let's talk.
That was a fun game.
Talk a little bit of men's after this.
Yeah, we gotta get them some love.
Yeah,
they put up a hundo again.
Oh yeah.
I thought they were going to get about 120 for a while, but I'll tell you, Regent dug in the second half. They played their
sure. 120. It was. I mean, it wasn't.
They really
like,
adjusted.
Outcome interesting, but yeah, Regent kind of put hard in that second half.
No, but it got a little nervous for a little bit. I mean, they got it down to like 15.
It's like 18 points.
Yeah.
Man. Hey, shout out.
It wasn't like really nervous, but it was like, hey, you guys better like put another run on them here and quiet them down.
Hey, shout out to
yesterday's
birthday boy, Kobe Shewry.
It's his birthday today, right? 19.
Yeah, 19. Happy birthday, Kobe.
Larry.
The 4-point play. We
Larry
saw 2
4
4-point plays
yesterday. Yeah, 2 4-point plays.
Yeah, that's insane.
Kobe.
Yeah,
I love that he's an Australian.
19 points off the bench.
Yeah,
I was sitting behind the Regent bench in the stands up there, and there were a couple different times where we took a shot, like a 3, that was heavily contested with the guy right in his face, and the coach just turned around and was just like, "What?
What are you gonna do?
What do I say?"
What are you gonna
do? The same way. I wouldn't have anything for that. Like it's hand in the face, close out. That's a bad shot.
Look
for
at that.
Except us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Except for Kobe, who probably shot like 1,000 a day.
Again, right in the corner.
Wide open. You can't let him get that free, though. And then he showed him a little take later on, too. That was nice.
Yeah, just
59 at halftime. God.
They're just dishing it out. Tasso had a couple of big threes. It was good to see Tasso get some points back on the board. He'd been struggling the last couple of games, so it was good to see him.
Kev couldn't get that 3 going early. He was a little flat with it, so he just started going to the rack.
Yep. And Q, man, those guys, man, they're so much fun.
Q's got some wicked hops, man. Look at that.
It's so much fun to see it throw it down. That energy, it wraps.
That one had some style points to it too.
What those dunks do.
Overstreet wanted it, but Karan was like, "No."
Yeah.
That steal that Kev just had on that. Oh, yeah. It looks a whole lot better in.
Dude, there were a couple times where I swear he went like hyper speed and stole the ball. Where it was like, whoa. What did he just do? He just cranked it up to like 12 and went and got the ball. Like, wow. No, it was impressive. You know, they were a little sluggish coming out in the second half. I think just a little emotional letdown. You just put 59 on them. You're up by 29 at halftime. It's hard to kind of keep the energy up, but they woke them up and then finished strong. So how much fun is it to, after you get done working, just kick back and watch those guys play, Grogan?
Oh, it's awesome. And it's great because they just play such a fun brand of basketball. Like, it's just fun to watch. They're so fast paced. And I love every time there's just something about, I know it's like part of the system. And I've heard Ron talk about it where like, it's what they've been taught to do. But there's something about hitting a 3 and immediately turning around and getting face to face with the guy you just hit a 3 on to defend him. That just has to be infuriating. I couldn't
demoralizing.
I close out, great defense. He hits a three. I look at my coach, like, what am I supposed to do? I turn back and I'm already double teamed. Like, it's like, what do you do? It is so much fun to watch. They play such a fun brand of basketball, and it's been great so far. It's a a real fun time to be able to just sit back, lean back in the bleachers, and just watch us go to work.
Yeah,
It would not be fun to play against.
No,
not at all.
No.
That team I think is gonna be a handful to go up against in Peach Belt play by the way that we're seeing, just the energy that they play with, the brand of basketball that Ron Fidel has brought. And I mean, as a coach yourself, you have to be, proud and in awe of what he's doing in his first year and how he's really captivated his team. They're all buying for him, and just to see the excitement that he's generated from this program early on.
Yeah, and it's there's always something with like, a new coach coming into a place, and there's always a level of like, you see everything going on behind the scenes, and you see the energy and the excitement and the work that's being put in. And since I've been talking with him since the spring, it's like, man, like, I really hope this works for him, because he's doing everything the right way. And it feels like it has to work. There's no way it doesn't. And then when we went out there in that first game, it was like 3 minutes into the game where I kind of shook my head and I was like, oh, it's going to work. He's got it. Like, it's the system, it's the way that he's got the guys playing. Like, it's just something that I was excited for him and for that team, just because like I see all the work that goes on behind the scenes, and it's like they work too hard not to succeed. It has to be a success, and it has been so far.
It's been awesome to watch so far.
Mm-hmm.
Well, back at it Saturday against the New College of Florida. Anything else, fellas, before we call it a night?
Yeah. Hey, scouting New College. Because they're a first-year program too, right?
I actually don't know the answer to that.
I think they are, because this is the first year. I think so. So it was something that caught my attention earlier, but I think it's their first one.
It's either a first-year program or one of those teams that doesn't really keep historical stats, because I haven't found any historical stats on them. But there's a lot of colleges that I haven't.
They are new. They're the New College of Florida.
Yeah, I do think that they're. I think they're a brand new program too, first year program as well. So
probably cool.
The mighty Banyan,
Mighty Banyans,
Mighty Banyans, not the trees, not the Mighty.
They drew some controversy with their logo. That's what I found out on the Googles.
Yeah, you search that one up, Grogan. I'll send you that link that JJ sent. It was kind of comical reading it. I was like, oh man, it
was a little comical.
But it's gonna be it's gonna be the same thing. The navy and the gold, navy and sand. It's like, man, there's so many schools.
They're gonna feel
we got the Carolina. We'll be good.
We do have the intercoastal blue, I think is what the official name is.
Intercoastal blue. Okay. I got you.
I love that name.
Carolina blue. Yeah, it's a mouthful.
It's Carolina, bro.
Yeah,
it's Carolina.
Carolina blue. But it's fine.
We know Carolina blue when we see it. But I think we've done enough damage tonight, don't you, fellas?
Yeah, absolutely. But
all right, well, you want to wrap it up for me?
Either one, it don't matter.
All right. Well, I can wrap it up. This was fun. Sand Shark Rewind is a production of Lowco Media in cooperation with USCB Athletics, and we appreciate you coming along for the ride. Thanks, Brady Grogan, USCB women's basketball assistant coach, for jumping on with us, as well as Wes Kerr and Brackin Lambert. I'm going to leave you with the Lowco Media promo as we go out. And until next time, keep those fins up and go Lowco.
The Lowco Media Network is the place to keep up with local sports news across the South Carolina Lowcountry and subscribe to all your favorite shows. From the Lowco Sports Lowdown at Lowco Pigskin Live to the Lowco Hoops Report and USCB All Access. Plus new shows like Red's Barbershop, where NYC and Syracuse hoops legend Tony Red Bruin opens up his Rolodex and talks hoops with stars past and present, like Sam Perkins and Jay Billis. And Under the Bus, featuring hilarious banter on the biggest stories in sports from Hall of Fame sports writer Curry Kirkpatrick, former ESPN SportsCenter anchor Bob Stevens, and legendary Hilton Head Prep basketball coach Rich Basirico. Find them all on the Lowco Media YouTube channel or at lowcosports.com. Go Lowco!
letting me in the stream. It's not letting me in the stream. Fun. We're getting bonus